Good evening. Welcome everyone to Bad Fanfiction Live. My name is Mr Gamington-Smythe III. Welcome back, viewers, and thank you very much for sticking around. And I very much appreciate you understanding about me taking a break from last week. Unfortunately, I took a very, very major head cold, and as such, I was unable to stream on the Monday. It was due to exhaustion and pains on the jaw, so talking would have been very much impossible. So, thank you very much for being understanding. And Monday, again, that was kind of the same thing. But fortunately, well, Monday was actually, I had work, so unfortunately I wasn't able to stay up. But tonight, we shall be continuing with the fanfiction I was intending to do. But first of all, I wish to promote the Muffin Fund. So, this is a collection of tips that I would very much appreciate for for the upkeep of the channel. So, these are not mandatory, but anything that you contribute will be very most welcome, and I will also give you a shout out live on the stream. So, do let me know if this is your first time on the stream. Very much appreciate it. I would very much like to know if there are some new people out tonight. But it seems that I can tell definitely from the regulars that we have got the regulars in. So, jolly good. Seem to have a good contingent of the mods. So, yes, the tip thing is called the Muffin Fund. So, that's what we usually top it in. So. Jeff Maisai was your first time. Mattman the Comet first time. Juan Reyes. Welcome, welcome. It's always good to hear about new people. Ventlight, welcome, welcome. Jolly good. So, welcome. And Andrew Davis, welcome again. Walter Stedman, Sci-Fi Fiend. Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Jumper Pictures. Yeah, thank you. 8 Melodies is quite right. The only rules that we have are concerning just don't be rude, and to myself, and of course to the viewers especially, because they are here just to have some fun. But anyway, the reason why I've picked this fanfiction in tonight is due to the fact of its controversy. Because I heard about this. We just had a tip from David Reader. David Reader, thank you very much. Excellent. Good start. So again, if you wish to contribute like David here, link here, bit.ly/themuffinfund. But the reason why we picked the fanfiction tonight is I actually didn't know this was an actual fanfiction. I thought it was just a story, but no. It's a fanfiction in the ironic sense that they're not exactly fans, but it's on fanfiction.net. So it's very strange, but I shall waste no time and get on with it. By Proud Housewife, their only entry, and it's now titled Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles. Now, I'd just like to point out that, and I would very much appreciate it if the mods would do this throughout the entire chat, just to keep a reminder, that I am in no way wishing to offend any Christians watching, and I am just reading this in the fact of this is a bit of a bad fanfiction in terms of Harry Potter. Nothing to do with Christianity. So, all religions are absolutely fine by me. As long as everyone is kind to each other, I can dig it. One can dig it. We all can dig it. So, just remember that. It's all good in the religious hood. Anyway. The description. Do you want your little ones to read books? And they want to read the Harry Potter books, but you do not want them to turn into witches? Well, this is the story for you. And thank you, 8 Melodies. She shared the link, so that means everyone can read along. This story has all the adventure of JKR's books, but will not lead your children astray. For concerned mummies everywhere. Blessings, Grace Ann. Author's note. Hello, friends. My name is Grace Ann. I'm new to this whole fanfiction thing. But recently I've encountered a problem that I believe this is the solution to. My little ones have been asking to read the Harry Potter books, and of course I'm happy for them to be reading, but I don't want them turning into witches. So I thought, why not make some slight changes so these books are family friendly? And then I thought, why not share this with all the other mummies who are facing the same problem? So, ta-da! Here it is. I'm so excited to share this all with you. I bet you are. So without further ado. Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Harry Potter who lived under the stairs in a house on Privet Drive with his aunt and uncle. He was a good, obedient boy who did all of his chores, but he felt that there was something missing in life. Something big and special, but he could not quite name it. He stayed up every night and wished for this special something. But then one day, there was a knock at his door, and everything changed. Answer the door, Harry! His Aunt Petunia, a career woman, barked from her armchair where she ate with her feet up. She had short, curly blonde hair, never wore any makeup. Uncle Vernon nodded sheepishly from the kitchen, and put a tray of moist, chocolatey brownies in the oven. Shouldn't you be doing that? Harry thought. But he was a very obedient young boy, so he answered the door right away. He turned the brass metal doorknob and pulled open the heavy wooden door. On the porch was standing a huge muscular man with a big manly beard, and he was dressed in a plaid red shirt, blue jeans, and sturdy leather boots. His chest was covered in a thick, unruly carpet of coarse brown hair. He wore a necklace that looked to Harry like a lowercase t. Just looking at Harry felt happy, peaceful, somehow, but he couldn't say why. Good morning, kiddo! The man greeted amiably and smiled at Harry. He had the peaceful, friendly sort of face you just knew you could trust. My name is Hagrid. Could I speak to your mummy and daddy? Well, I don't have a mummy or daddy, Harry replied sadly, and looked at his raggedy old shoes that were blue. Perhaps that was why he felt so lonely. He thought, not for the first time. Maybe that was why he was missing a mommy and daddy. But no, that was not quite right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Hagrid uttered empathetically. You can speak with my auntie and uncle, Harry retorted politely, and blinked his big blue childlike eyes. What do you want? Aunt Petunia peered out the door with her narrow, suspicious eyes, and she was wearing a baggy, unflattering pantsuit. Hello, neighbour. I was wondering if you'd been saved, Hagrid exclaimed brightly, and tipped his wide-brimmed straw cowboy hat. Aunt Petunia laughed a gravelly laugh, and leaned forward on her sturdy, practical boots. Saved? Don't tell me you're one of those Christians. Harry did not know what that word meant, but Hagrid's smile was the most peaceful smile he had ever seen. It made Harry feel warm and happy inside, just seeing the glowing, radiant grin on the kind, friendly stranger's face. He wondered why Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon did not smile like that. Well, yes, I am, Hagrid replied kindly. Are you? Aunt Petunia laughed again, and stuck her pointy, sharp nose up in the air. We are too smart for that. Haven't you read Dawkins? God is dead. Dawkins proved that. Would you like us to educate you on the Dawkins? Aunt Petunia, what is a Christian? Harry queried innocently, and scuffed his shoe on the shaggy yellow carpet which had not been vacuumed in quite some time. Christians are people who want to be good, Hagrid explained wisely, and crouched down so he was on eye level with Harry. We want to go to heaven after we die. Do you know what heaven is, Harry? Harry shook his head, and his big eyes were wide and curious. Heaven is a beautiful place where we can be one with God. Aunt Petunia smacked her hands over Harry's young ears, and her voice was sickly sweet when she said, "Thank you very much for your concern, sir, but he does not need your religion. He has science and socialism and birthdays. Haven't you heard of evolution? I have a very good textbook on evolution that I could give you on it if you would like to learn things." Hagrid laughed wisely. "Evolution's a fairy tale. You don't really believe that, now do you?" "Yes, I do!" Aunt Petunia screeched. "Well then, prove it." Aunt Petunia could only stare at him, and her big mouth hung open dumbly. Here she thought she was so educated, and always demanded that Christians prove what they believed in. But she couldn't prove her own religion. It was that Harry knew who the smart one here was. "Tell me how to get to this heaven place," Harry cried wistfully, clasping his hands together. Sometimes the wisdom of little ones is really amazing. We think we grown-ups know it all, but then God speaks through the mouths of little ones and shows us all how we are all mortals struggling along the path of life. Humility. All you have to do is be saved. Do you want to be saved, Harry? I do, Harry squealed, jumping up and down. Then pray the sinner's prayer. Aunt Petunia tried to stop him, but she was powerless against Harry's pure, innocent, holy energy. Soon, Harry had said the prayer. Hagrid beamed happily. You're a Christian, Harry. I'm a what? Harry smiled, but then interrogated. But how do I be a Christian? I don't know how. Hagrid grinned wildly. There is only one place to learn that. Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles. Author's note. So, what do you all think? I may not be a professional writer, but I think I'm being given the talent to pull this off in service of a greater mission. Sincere blessings, Grace Ann. Well, that is the first chapter. More to come, my viewers. Let's see if we can continue. And by the way, thank you very much, Devil's Advocate, for your tip. He says, Dude, I love you so much. You are probably one of my favorite voice actors of all time. Well, thank you very much, Devil's Advocate. I very much appreciate it. Again, if you would like to send a tip for yourself and get a shout out on here with a message from yourself, then it's bit.ly/themuffinfund. Anyway, on with chapter 2. I'm going to skip the author's note for now, but Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles? Harry queried, and clasped his hands. Just at hearing that name, he felt such a sense of inner peace. He wanted to have more of that peace, and he wanted to learn how to be a good Christian. He was starting to think that peace and being a good Christian were in fact the exact same thing. I want to go there! Hagrid beamed widely. He had been praying so hard to save a soul today, and he was so happy to have saved the soul of such a sweet, earnest little one. The poor boy, being raised by two parents who were not Christian, and who both went to work and left him with a babysitter all day long. It was a good thing Hagrid had got here in time. 5 years down the road, Harry might have been a fornicating, drug-addicted evolutionist. Don't be silly, Harry, Aunt Petunia commanded, and wrung her long bony hands. Come back inside. I will read to you about evolution from the Dorkins. You do not need that silly religion. Harry scrunched up his innocent little face and thought very hard. Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon were as close to parents as he had, and this was the only home he knew. Could he really leave? But he was saved now. He had prayed the sinner's prayer. He could not stay here anymore. Not with what was he knew now. Suddenly, he knew what he had to do. No, Aunt Petunia, he uttered calmly with childlike wisdom. Evolution is not real, and I am going to Hogwarts. No, no, Harry, Aunt Petunia screeched desperately. I have an idea. You can have a second birthday today. You like birthdays, right? Birthdays are not of God, Harry verbalized knowingly, and looked at his aunt with an innocent wisdom. You tried to corrupt me, but it did not work. But I forgive you, Aunt Petunia, because of Luke 23:34. Hagrid was amazed once again at the wisdom of little ones. He did not know if he could forgive someone who had hurt him as much as this woman had. Deny him the truth? Who could be so cruel? But Harry did not even think about it twice. He forgave, just like that. Truly, Hagrid gained a new understanding of Matthew 19:14 that day. Do not leave, Harry, Dudley wailed childishly. I must, Harry said, and stepped over the threshold. Goodbye, Dursleys. I hope you are saved too one day. And with that, he and Hagrid began to walk down Private Drive. How will we get to this school, Hagrid? Harry queried curiously. We will pray, Hagrid retorted knowledgeably. How do we do that? Harry solicited inquisitively. Watch, Hagrid said, and then he got down on his knees on the road. He motioned for Harry to get down on his knees too. Hagrid raised his hands to the heavens and cried out in a deep, thunderous voice, Dear Lord, take us to Hogwarts! Harry felt himself being whisked away, and in a moment he was sitting in the cool, damp grass outside a humongous, beautiful castle. He looked in awe at the tall towers and the grey stones. What a beautiful place! A tall, thin man with a long, pointed beard and big wire spectacles stood in front of Harry. He was wearing a brown tweed suit and a nice matching hat. His shoes were made of leather and polished until they shone. He had a smile much like Hagrid's smile. So peaceful, Harry just knew he could trust him. A lovely, kindly young woman with flowing blonde hair and a pleasant heart-shaped face stood beside this holy man. Hello there, little one, the man greeted amicably. I am the Reverend Albus Dumbledore, and this is my wife, Minerva. Welcome to Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles. Author's note. Blessings. Blessings indeed. Welcome, Gissy Girl. Welcome to the chat. So Blazy Blake brings up the point. So prayer can teleport people. Well, we think of this as the either a port key or an apparition, Hagrid apparating. So this is probably that equivalent. Now we can tell from chapter 3, the author's notes are starting to slowly becoming a bit more shaky. Hello, friends. I have struggled a lot about whether or not to keep going with the story, but with a lot of praying, my husband and I have decided that it is the right thing to do. We want our little ones to have a good Christian literature to read. In this modern world, sometimes that can be hard to come by. So, I will just have to make do. Pleased to meet you, Reverend Dumbledore, Harry replied enthusiastically and got to his feet. This sure is a beautiful place you have here. The Reverend beamed. Why, thank you, little one. His voice had a distinctive... Oh, it's a southern twang. So he's a... so I say, the Reverend Dumbledore definitely has a southern twang. So, he's not the Albus Dumbledore. He's... Okay. Why, thank you, little one. His voice had a distinctive southern twang to it that made Harry feel so safe and welcome. He knew in that moment that the Reverend was a man of God. This poor little one was being raised in a terrible situation, Hagrid declared concernedly. He was watched by a babysitter every second of the day. His aunt saw him as part of her perfect life package, like the big house, the fancy career, the speedy car. Dumbledore shook his head sadly. Might I say, too bad no one told her. Parenting should be about the children. Won't someone please think of the children, not the parents? That is why it is called parenting. Hagrid nodded wisely. Dumbledore turned to Harry and announced authoritatively. Lost my train of thought right there. Now, you can start your classes tomorrow morning. Today, y'all can get settled into your dormitory. But first, why don't you eat dinner with my family and me, like a good Christian family?
Really? Harry gasped excitedly. I've never had a family dinner before.
Well, why don't you come with us then? Dumbledore cried kindly, and then got down on his knees. Everyone else did the same, raising his large, massive, manly hands up to the heavens like a giant spirit bomb. Dumbledore bellowed in a voice ever louder than Hagrid's had been, "Lord, please take us to the kitchen." Suddenly, they all found themselves in a tasteful, decorated kitchen.
Wow! Harry shouted in awe. He was still getting used to the power of prayer. Sometimes we take the wonderful things the Lord gives us for granted. And it takes a newcomer to the fold for us to understand just how blessed we are. That was amazing! Hagrid smiled knowingly.
Well, God is an amazing guy.
He sure is, the Reverend's wives chuckled, before getting down to her knees and raising her own hands upwards. Dear Lord, please set the table with the sky blue cloth and the Sunday dishes, and please give us biscuits fried golden brown and gravy creamy mashed potatoes, my great Aunt Eleanor's corn casserole, corn on the cob slathered with butter, and for dessert, some chocolate raspberry cookies.
So no one... I would... I would think that actually that's, well, I do have to, so, prayer gets you everything. I thought too many prayers were sacrilege or something. But thank you very much. Awesome Claus says, you are my boogie bear. You and Goku alike. Be sure to tell him as well. I'll be sure to tell Goku in that time. But all of these things appeared on the table exactly as the Reverend's wife had asked for them. Masterfully prepared and delicious smelling. Harry's mouth dropped open. Truly, this woman was a real Proverbs 31 wife.
Hermione!
No, said, Hermione! The Reverend summoned loudly. Dinner time! Immediately, and with cheerful obedience, an 11-year-old girl in a pretty pink dress with a matching bow came running down the stairs. She ran over to her father and gave him the winning smile that daughters have.
Welcome home, Daddy,
she smiled, and then turned to his wife.
Can I help at all with dinner, Mommy? It is all prepared, thanks be to God, her mother retorted gracefully. Hermione noted knowingly.
Well, Hermione, I would like y'all to meet Harry Potter, our newest student at Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles. Dumbledore introduced magnanimously. Harry, I would like y'all to meet Hermione Granger, my beloved daughter.
Pleased to meet you. I'm just going to do the British thing.
So, Hermione responded sweetly with a shy grin. Harry could barely respond. This was the most beautiful young woman he had ever come across. So different from all the girls in public school, who were focused on trying to be like the career woman they saw on Sex and the City. This little one was the picture of innocence and godliness. Now, Dumbledore pronounced genially, let's eat. As the holy men, women, and little ones dug into the delicious manna the Lord had granted them, the conversation amongst the adults turned to darker topics. Harry listened intently, and he did not understand it, but he was very interested. Dark days are coming, Hagrid pronounced gravely along a mouthful of casserole. Evil forces are coming into this world, and the little ones at Hogwarts may be our last resort. Psalm 127:5, Dumbledore referenced solemnly, and the others around the table nodded knowingly. Hogwarts might be the last hope for the forces of good in this world. So, it turns out that Hermione is now... So, Dumbledore's wife is Minerva McGonagall, and Hermione Granger is their daughter. Okay. Now, the author's notes start to get a little bit more interesting. I'm going to skip the first part because that is actually unfortunate. One of their children came down with pneumonia, and that's not good, absolutely. But I hope that they do get a swift recovery. So that's not to be made fun of. But this one. Now, of course, there were some hateful messages that made me very sad. But for every review posted by an evolutionist with a bee in his bonnet, there were 3 lovely private messages from other mummies out there, thanking me for doing the Lord's work. Wow, I knew when the Lord is telling me something. So, here is another chapter for all your mummies out there. And all you non-believers spreading hatred, well, let's see if you aren't converted by the time that this story is over. Sad, but for every review posted... How is everyone doing? Is everyone converted? There were 3... Anyway. When the delicious filling dinner had ended, Harry wiped some last tasty cookie crumbs from the side of his mouth. He was very full and very tired. Discovering the truth, being saved, and coming to Hogwarts, it had certainly been a long day for this little one.
You look like you could use a good night's sleep, the Reverend's wife commanded daintily. How would you like to move into your dormitory? Well, I would love to, Harry cried cheerfully. He was so excited to become a student here, and he was so grateful for the opportunities the Lord had given him. Sometimes people who have done without are the most grateful. Hermione, why don't you show our newest student to the dormitory? Dumbledore suggested wisely. Well, I'd love to, Daddy, Hermione replied obediently with an innocent girlish smile, and got to her feet, and smoothed out the skirt of her becoming pink frock. Should I clean the kitchen first? Well, I can take care of that tonight, the Reverend's wife answered indulgently, and she was already beginning to clear the elegant porcelain dishes. What, you don't get God to pray for that? Okay. Thank you, Mummy, Hermione shouted gratefully, and she walked over to Harry. Would you please come with me? Harry blushed so shyly and got to his feet. His aunt had never taught him how to talk to pretty girls. She always said that pretty girls were shallow and not very smart, and that a real woman put her career first and didn't care about her looks. But it only took one look at this godly young girl to realize just how wrong that was. A woman taking pride in her appearance is honoring the Lord, because after all, it is the Lord who gave her a pretty face and nice hair. Taking care of that is important. Harry got the feeling that Hermione was as beautiful on the inside as she was on the outside. The 2 little ones stepped out into the brisk, chilly night, and for a few minutes they were both silent. Harry did not think it was possible for the sweet, demure girl to be as nervous as he was, but going by the silence, perhaps she was a little nervous herself. After a few minutes, Hermione welcomed shyly. Welcome to Hogwarts. It is a wonderful place, and we really are so glad to have you here. Harry's face reddened as they crossed an expansive, flowery field. They were going in the direction of a cluster of imposing stone academic-looking buildings. Well, thank you, he muttered happily. It is beautiful, and it feels very holy. Well, it is, Hermione commented enthusiastically. And the chocolate-coloured, carefully curled tresses were bouncing along with her steps. My father is a very godly man, and to spread the word of the Lord is his greatest dream. Well, truly, that is a noble dream, Harry responded gravely, with wisdom beyond his few years. They walked for a few more minutes in silence. Eventually, they reached the end of the lovely green meadow. Well, the boys' dormitory is this way.
Hermione exposited knowingly, and with the innocent casual affectation so often found in children, she grabbed Harry's hand as she led him around the edifice of classrooms. Harry was so nervous. He could not think of anything to say. His brain fumbled for the perfect Christian thing to say, but before he could even manage a word, Hermione came to a stop in front of a tall stone tower.
This is the boys' dormitory,
the devout young woman explained kindly, and she gestured to the heavy oak doors beside them.
I would show you inside, but I would hate to cause a scandal.
I understand, Harry declared graciously. Too many young men these days pressure young women to do things undesired and forbidden. It is the mark of a true old-fashioned gentleman to respect the fact that every young woman is another man's future wife. And we all know that it would be a dreadful, terrible sin to bring another man's wife into intimacy. Why does modern culture suddenly treat that as okay simply because he does not have her yet? Man's laws may permit it, but the laws of the Lord are not bound by time. Hermione moved to push open the imposing large door, but she struggled with a knob. It was quite a heavy door. But Harry was a good devout Christian now. He would not have a young godly girl struggling to open a door which he was perfectly capable of opening himself. With the simple faith so often seen in little ones, Harry got down on his knees and lifted his hands skyward, and shouted prayerfully,
Dear Lord, please open these doors and allow me to enter my new home.
With a loud, thunderous boom that echoed throughout the expansive, beautiful campus, the doors crashed open. Harry stood up piously as Hermione's jaw dropped. Now she knew for certain that this was truly a man of the Lord. Harry was about to step inside when Hermione grabbed his arm. His blushed once more.
Wait, Harry, Hermione uttered quickly. There's something you should know.
What is it? Harry queried questioningly.
My father says that dark times are coming,
Hermione spoke worriedly.
There is a man called Voldemort who wants to destroy all that we stand for. He is pushing an agenda in Congress which will stop us from practicing our faith freely. But that is what our founding fathers built this nation for, Harry cried indignantly. The freedom of religion. Voldemort doesn't care, Hermione remarked sadly, and she shook her head. And he is gaining power. The freedom of Christians to practice our faith is disappearing by the day. Soon it will be like it was in Rome.
Lovely ladylike tears began to roll down her delicate, terrified face.
And I don't like lions.
It will be all right, Harry assured manfully. We will just need to pray really, really hard. That is why we're here after all.
You're so brave, Hermione pronounced admiringly.
And she wiped the tears from her eyes. She flung her arms around Harry's neck.
Thank you for giving me courage.
Harry patted her head before departing and entering his new home. It wasn't until the doors had closed behind him that he realized that he did not know where he was supposed to sleep. The tower consisted of an old stone staircase, winding up the steps' secret walls. And there were doors leading into each bedroom of the stairway corridor. Harry felt very lost for a moment, but a quick prayer showed him the way. As he collapsed into his bed, very tired from such an eventful day, he thought about the days that were coming. It was truly a good thing that the Lord had called him when he did. Well, that was chapter 4. I have to admit, it's certainly starting to get a little more interesting. And it is a bit of a shame that they seem to rely on prayer for every single thing. But Devil's Advocate, thank you for the other tip. And he says, because I work for the devil as an advocate, does that mean I can't listen to this Christian story? Well, surely that everyone is meant to be quite tolerant. Surely they would allow this to happen. But anyway. So let's get on with chapter 5. Harry Potter woke up drowsily in a comfy, fluffy mattress. and it was only now that he had had the energy to observe his surroundings. The room was small, but also everything a little boy needed. There was a big warm fireplace in the grey stone walls across from him, a shelf of intelligent, age-appropriate books. The Holy Bible was in the center of the shelf, of course, and there was a simple wood dresser of respectable school-appropriate attire, and of course, a clean porcelain sink for washing up and brushing teeth and such. It was only then that our hero noticed that there was another bed in the room. It was the same as his own bed, except that this other bed had not been made. Also, this bed had its own Bible in it, and it looked different from the one on the shelf. But where was this new roommate of his? Harry looked behind him to see a small, pallid young boy with shockingly bright red hair kneeling with seemingly piety as he prayed to a small statue. At this shocking sight, Harry felt a horror, but he quickly composed himself and declared bravely,
"Hello, friend. My name is Harry Potter, and I take it that we are roommates. What is your name?"
"Ronald Weasley," the other boy responded friendlily, and he reached out a hand to shake.
"Welcome to Hogwarts. I'm a Christian too." "Really?" Harry exclaimed delightedly, and clasped his hands together. "Well, this is joyous news."
Ronald smiled deviously, and Harry remembered that he had just seen this boy praying to a statue, and he wondered why that would be. But he was whole new to this new Christianity thing, and maybe that was okay. Still, it didn't feel quite right. He bravely resolved to what would bring it up with Dumbledore.
"Would you like to come with me to breakfast?"
Ronald queried politely, as he got up from the statue he'd been kneeling in front of. "They have delicious food here in the Great Hall."
"Would I ever?"
Harry cried delightedly, and he bolted out of bed and brushed his teeth and washed his face. This little one certainly had a healthy appetite. In a jiffy, Harry and his new friend had joined the stream of young lads on the steep, winding stairs heading to breakfast. They could smell the aroma of breakfast in the Great Hall, and it wafted right into their noses. But before they knew it, they were all sitting in the Great Hall.
"Come sit with me and my family,"
Ronald offered eagerly, and he motioned frantically towards a table packed full of people with hair just as red as his.
Come on, come on, come on. I can't wait for them to see that I made a new friend."
Harry followed Ronald with the obedience of one who does not have many friends in a new situation. Oh, what a difficult circumstance that can be, and how many believers had been led astray by those situations. Guys, guys, guys! Ronald screeched joyously as he pulled Harry towards the table of his family. "Well, this is Harry Potter, and he's my new roommate."
"Hello, Harry,"
the Weasleys chorused in unison.
"Welcome to Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles."
"Hello," Harry stammered shyly. Something about this group made him nervous. "Nice to meet you." He sat down at their table. He could smell a delicious breakfast, but where was the food? No sooner had the thought crossed his mind when the Reverend Dumbledore came onto the Great Hall stage and dropped down to his knees and raised his hands skyward and screamed, "Dear Lord, please provide these devout young ones with 3 strips of bacon or links or sausage each, 2 for the ladies. You gotta watch your figure now, girls, darlings. A bowl of hearty oatmeal flavored with cinnamon and apple chunks, 2 poached eggs cooked all the way through, home fries seasoned with garlic, a glass each of orange juice and milk, and dishes up to the task." Harry was once again amazed to see the food appear in front of him. The food looked and smelled amazing. He suspected good old Minerva had something to do with this delicious spread. But before he dug into the food, he remembered that he had something to discuss with the Reverend. Harry fought his nervousness, and he ran after Dumbledore as he hopped dexterously off the stage. "Excuse me," the young believer cried innocently as he ran after the Reverend as fast as his little legs could carry him. "Excuse me, Reverend." "What is it, son?" the Reverend reiterated kindly. He was dressed respectably in sturdy, manly jeans and a red, white, and blue plaid shirt over with the small, virile tresses were visible, and a pair of admirable brown cowboy boots. "Are you settling in all right, sir?"
"Well, I sure am," Harry retorted graciously. "How are things with your family?"
"Very well," replied Dumbledore knowledgeably, and he was impressed with the little one's manners. "Was this something you wanted to talk to me about?"
"Well," Harry began uncomfortably,
and he scuffed his blue-sneakered foot across the polished wood floor of the great hall.
Well, I woke up this morning and saw my roommate praying to a statue. Is this really an okay thing to do?
Well, that is a real toughie, son, Dumbledore answered ponderously. Well, I don't worship idols. It is, in fact, a very unchristian thing to do. But you see, here at Hogwarts, we divide ourselves up into sorting hats. After breakfast, all the new little ones will choose their hats. Each of the different hats have different beliefs, but we all love the Lord. And what more in common do you need?
Well, that does sound true, Harry pondered sensitively. But is it really? It seems that if we all really love the Lord, we don't need to divide ourselves. Are the divisions between the different hats really so significant as to merit dividing Christianity? Or what are these divisions?
Well, they are somewhat significant, Dumbledore allowed tentatively. For instance, I am a Gryffindor hat. We believe in everything in the Bible, and only the Bible. That red-headed roommate of yours is a Slytherin hat.
And Slytherins worship statues?
Harry queried innocently. The Reverend nodded gravely.
Then how are they Christian? Harry questioned skeptically. What about Exodus 24-6? That's a 10 commandment.
Well, they have different commandments, Dumbledore explained well-meaningly. They love the Lord, and that is all we need.
But do they really love the Lord? Harry posited timidly. Well, if they do, then why do they worship statues?
Dark days are coming, son, Dumbledore replied earnestly. We need to be inclusive. If there were only Gryffindor hats at Hogwarts, then there would not be many people left.
Well, I see,
Harry conceded uncertainly as he walked back to Ronald's overcrowded table. He was getting nervous about this hat business, but he supposedly did have to trust Dumbledore. After all, grown-ups know best. And here are some notes about the actual, about the Bible quotes. So, Exodus 24:6. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images, or any likeness, or anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and shewing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Chapter 6, moving on. And another tip and message from Devil's Advocate. I see. Saying, I just talked to my boss and he said that July can come back to life just this once, because I picked up the tab for him at Papa John's once. It's probably chat context, but thank you very much, Devil's Advocate. And if you wish to leave a tip for yourself, then wish to send it to bit.ly/themuffinfund. You can see the link right there. All tips are very much appreciated. But chapter 6. Harry Potter walked back to the table of redheads. It was only now that he noticed that they were all wearing black and green baseball caps with snakes on them. Tentatively, Harry sat down next to Ronald, who was not wearing a hat, since he, like Harry, was new. So sorting hats are like caps. Okay.
So, Harry began nervously, and he bit into a thick, juicy slice of perfectly fried bacon. What sort of sorting hat do you think you will choose? Oh, I'll definitely choose Slytherin, Ronald declared confidently, and he began to eat his oatmeal with his hands. My whole family is Slytherins, he gestured to the countless redheads sitting at the table, and they all turned to Harry and smiled and waved. You should become a Slytherin too. We could do it together. Harry uttered ponderously and took a bite of eggs. Why don't you tell me about what Slytherins believe? Well, sure, Ronald replied ecstatically, and he kept eating his oatmeal. Well, first of all, we believe in the Bible. Well, that is wonderful, Harry reacted happily, and he took a sip of his orange juice. Well, I do as well. Perhaps I could be a Slytherin after all.
But wait, that's not all, Ronald continued excitedly, and washed his oatmeal down with milk. Well, Gryffindor hats believe in the Bible too, but Slytherins have even more. We have a book full of guidelines on how to be a good person, and a whole panel of Slytherin hats to tell us what to do. Harry followed an innocent, childish brow, and he took another bite of oatmeal, and he questioned confusedly. Why do you need all that if you have the Bible? Ronald guffawed, and he shoveled more oatmeal into his mouth, and he replied, well, we only have the Bible when you can have more. Why, that would be like only praying to God. Harry gasped in horror as he bit into more bacon.
Well, of course I only pray to God. Who else would I pray to?
What about Mary? Ronald posited angrily around a mouthful of oatmeal. You have to at least worship to her.
You mean the mummy of our Lord? Harry demanded in scandal, and he chewed his bacon. Well, I don't worship her.
Well then, God hates you, Ron stated simply. And pieces of bacon flew out of his mouth as he did so. Harry was tentative, since he was new to this whole Christianity thing, but he did not think God would hate him for not worshipping his mummy. On the contrary, he had a hunch that God wanted people to only worship him.
Don't listen to him,
commented a drowsy voice self-righteously from behind Harry. Harry turned around, and he saw a girl about his own age. Her pale yellow hair was tied into braids, and she wore a tie-dye shirt and faded jeans and flowers in her hair.
Peace.
Signs and donkey patches were sewn all over her clothes.
You should not become a Slytherin hat, the guy continued confidently.
And she was eating what looked like it was supposed to be bacon, but did not smell or taste like bacon. It missed that smoky, meaty taste that bacon is supposed to have. Instead, it tasted like vegetables blended together and dyed red. Yuck. Harry would take real bacon over that any day of the week.
They are far too strict.
Harry hummed skeptically. He was not sure about this whole Slytherin business, but the word strict was not what came to mind.
You should become a Hufflepuff hat, the girl instructed arrogantly, and continued to nibble at her breakfast. That is what I'm going to do. What do Hufflepuff hats believe in? Harry pondered aloud,
and he took a bite of his real bacon.
Oh, how he wanted to find the true hat.
Oh, it's Luna.
Hufflepuff hats believe in the Bible, but only some of it.
She was Irish in the movies, Luna explained casually, and she was still feeding on that stuff.
We don't believe in the stuff against fornication and drinking and socialism, but we really like Matthew 7:1, and that's about it. We're really fun, and we seem really nice and really tolerant as long as you agree with us.
That was when a derisive laugh echoed through the cafeteria. A smug-looking young man about Harry's age with slick black hair and even paler blonde than Luna's, and wearing a sweater vest and khakis, strode languidly down between the rows of tables. Please ignore this fool, Draco drawled smugly. Luna here thinks she can have a career even though she's a woman, and women are stupid. Harry gaped at this horrible person. What a mean thing to say. Women should not have careers because women are
Women should not have careers because women are stupid, Harry shouted indignantly. Women are not stupid at all. Women should not have careers because women are nurturing and loving and their gifts serve them the best in the home.
Draco gasped tentatively. You are diluting the truth. Women are beneath men.
No, I'm not, Harry fired back bravely.
You are twisting the truth so you can be mean with it.
Women are not beneath men. Men and women are just different.
Luna smiled at him gratefully. Draco was clearly fumbling for ground here. There is not much ground to stand on when you're being hateful, but he finally came up with, well, at least I don't eat with Slytherin hats. I hate Slytherins. Ronald began to cry into his oatmeal.
Well, I don't hate Slytherin hats, Harry declared boldly. I think they should become Gryffindor hats, but that is because I love them. Besides, the Lord ate with sinners all the time.
Thank you, Harry, Ronald whispered tearfully.
Well, you should become a Ravenclaw hat like me, Draco spluttered blusteringly. We really are the best hat.
Boo! I, for one, speaking as a representative Ravenclaw, do resent that in the extreme, sir. Ravenclaws are wise. That is not wise behavior. Ravenclaw forever.
I think you mean we really are the most hateful hat,
Harry corrected cleverly, and then he jumped onto the table, and he got down on his knees, and he raised his hand to the ceiling of the Great Hall, and he bellowed,
Dear Lord, I have made my decision. I am a Gryffindor hat.
Right. Now, I believe I shall make this the last chapter of tonight, so we shall do this in 2 parts. So this is part 1, everyone, so expect more of this on Monday. But for now, let us do chapter 7. And do this entry of the little author's note. Now, there have been quite a few questions and comments coming in, and I thought I should take the time to address a few, since I don't have time to reply individually. First of all, to the only mummies who've expressed their appreciation of this little story of mine, thank you. Your support keeps me writing. Remember, though, the glory is not mine, and it is the work of a greater cause. And the people who call me names, a Bible-believing Christian, is like a big ugly monster who lives under a bridge, and wanting everyone to do the right thing and to go to heaven makes one a so-called bigot. Well, this modern world for you. And finally, to the people who say that I am spreading hate, take a look at some of the comments posted here, saying that I am a terrible writer and a terrible mother whose children will hate her one day. Who is it who is spreading hate here? Because I don't think that it is me. The Great Hall burst into applause as a red and yellow baseball cap with a lion embroidered on the front appeared on Harry's head. He hopped deftly off the table and landed on his little feet. He could feel the love of the Lord surging through him, and he knew he had made the right decision. He was even more sure of his decision when Hermione dashed across the cafeteria to give him a big spontaneous hug. She too was sporting a red and yellow baseball cap, although her cap had a kitten on it instead of a lion.
I'm so happy, Harry, she cried gladly, delicate tears streaming down her face. When I saw you eating with that family, I was so scared. I thought you might become a Slytherin. Never worry about that, Harry declared boldly and bravely. I am a Gryffindor, now and forever.
Well chosen, son, Dumbledore declared approvingly as he took long, energetic strides to cross the crowded, noisy room. Welcome to the Gryffindor hat, Harry. Harry beamed happily. Truly, he had been blessed. As he sat down to finish his breakfast, and he was still glowing from joy, he sat back next to Ronald.
Will you still be my friend, even though you're a different hat? Ronald asked timidly. Well, of course, Harry declared generously,
and began to eat his eggs. He had expected his eggs to be cold by now, what with all the hullabaloo below, and behold, they were still piping hot. He would not pretend that what Ronald believed about worshipping the dead, but he could still offer the young boy friendship in the spirit of Matthew 2:16-17.
Thank you, Harry, Ronald uttered happily. He may have been sporting a green and black hat with a snake on it, which testified to his Slytherin beliefs, but he could recognize Harry's pure-hearted godliness, generosity, humility, and innocent goodness. He looked around at his siblings, all of them wearing hats identical to his, and he wondered why none of them were like that. Attention, students, Reverend Dumbledore announced authoritatively as he hopped onto the stage. He held, Congratulations on picking your hats, he continued kindly. I'm sure y'all have chosen wisely. Harry hummed to himself. He knew that the Reverend meant well, but was it really doing the members of the other hats much good to tell them that everything was the same when it wasn't? Wouldn't they all be happier if they knew to read the Bible and take it seriously? Dumbledore thought he was making everyone happy, and perhaps he was in the short run, but in the long run, Harry worried that he was doing more harm than good. Harry did not say anything, because he was new to the flock and didn't feel confident in his connection with the Lord. But sometimes it takes newcomers to point out the flaws that we don't see in our own communities.
The Reverend clapped his hands against each other once, and then he spoke enthusiastically. Now, you all be sharing most of your classes with other members of your hat, so it will be good for you to get to know them now. Ravenclaw hats, please gather around Mr. Moody. Hufflepuff hats, please gather around Mr. Sprout. Slytherin hats, please gather around Mr. Finnegan. And Gryffindor hats, please gather around Mr. Snape. Now, at the beginning of the breakfast meal, Harry had noticed a tall, mysterious-looking man with long dark hair and gaunt, enigmatic features. He was dressed stylishly in a crisp black suit, and his tie made a shock of red in the otherwise totally black outfit. The dark hair on his pale chest was neatly trimmed but still noticeably thick, and he wore elegant black leather shoes on both of his feet. It was now that he noticed that, on the table that this man was sitting at, was a placard that said on it, Mr. Snape. Harry followed the other brave young children wearing Gryffindor hats. Well, that was certainly very interesting. Thank you all, everyone, for tuning in. We shall be continuing on with the Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles in part 2 on Monday, the usual time, 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So, thank you all for tuning in, and I hope to see you all for chapters 8 to 14 of Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles. So, until then, everyone, be sure to take it easy, be well, and pray for bacon. Until the next Bad Fanfiction Live. Until then, Toodle Pip, and good night.